Kim Tae-ho stood in the massive throne room of the Galactic Empire. The ceiling stretched so high above him that he could barely see where it ended. Giant pillars made of some strange blue crystal held up the roof. Each pillar was bigger than most buildings on Earth. The room was full of aliens. Some looked like giant lizards with sharp teeth and golden scales. Others were made of living crystal that sparkled in the light. A few looked like floating jellyfish with too many eyes. They all stared down at Kim Tae-ho with looks of amusement on their faces. Kim Tae-ho was just a human. He was average height and wore a simple black suit. Next to these massive aliens, he looked tiny and weak. But he stood straight and kept his head up. He had an important job to do. At the far end of the room sat Emperor Vaxal on his throne. The emperor was huge, even for his species. His skin was dark red and covered in thick armor plates. 4 arms sprouted from his massive body, and his head had 6 glowing yellow eyes. When he spoke, his voice boomed through the room like thunder. "So," Emperor Vaxal said, "the humans have sent us a messenger. How amusing. What could your tiny species possibly want to tell the great galactic empire?" The alien nobles laughed. The sound echoed off the crystal walls like breaking glass. Some of them made clicking noises with their teeth. Others buzzed like angry insects. They all thought this was very funny. Kim Tae-ho reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. It projected a hologram into the air above his head. The hologram showed a map of space with thousands of stars marked in different colors. Red stars belonged to the Empire. Blue stars belonged to humans. There were many more red stars than blue ones. "Your Imperial Majesty," Kim Tae-ho said in a calm voice, "I bring a message from the United Earth Government and all human colonies." "Speak quickly, little human," the Emperor said. "We have important matters to discuss after you leave." Kim Tae-ho took a deep breath. "The message is simple. Stop all expansion into human space within 72 standard hours. If you do not stop, you will face complete destruction." The throne room went silent for a moment. Then the laughter started again, louder than before. Some aliens fell off their seats because they were laughing so hard. Others made strange whooping, sounds that must have been their version of laughter. Emperor Vaxal's 6 eyes glowed brighter. "Did you just threaten us, little human? Your species has barely learned how to travel between stars. You have perhaps 50 worlds while we control 50,000. Your ships are slow and weak. Your weapons are primitive. And you dare to threaten the Galactic Empire?" "I am only delivering the message, Your Imperial Majesty," Kim Tae-ho replied. 72 hours. General Krethvar, the Emperor's military commander, stepped forward. He was a tall, lizard-like creature with razor-sharp claws and armor that looked like it was made from black metal. His red eyes focused on Kim Tae-ho like a predator watching prey. "This is insulting," General Krethvar hissed. "Let me crush their pathetic little fleet right now. It would take less than an hour." Now, General," Emperor Vaxal said with fake kindness. "Let us not be hasty. Perhaps the humans do not understand their place in the galaxy. Perhaps they need to be taught." The Emperor stood up from his throne. He was so tall that Kim Tae-ho had to tilt his head back to look at his face. "Tell me, human, what makes you think your species could possibly threaten us? What secret weapons do you have? What great alliance have you formed?" Kim Tae-ho looked around the room at all the alien faces staring at him. Some looked angry, others looked curious. All of them looked like they thought he was crazy. "We have no secret weapons, Your Imperial Majesty," Kim Tae-ho said. "We have no great alliance. We are just humans." This made the aliens laugh even harder. Some of them were making so much noise that guards had to tell them to be quiet. "Just humans," Emperor Vaxal repeated. "Just humans who think they can threaten an empire that has conquered half the galaxy. Just humans who believe their tiny fleet can stand against our millions of warships." The Emperor walked down from his throne until he was standing right in front of Kim Tae-ho. His massive shadow covered the human completely. "I will give you one chance to take back your foolish words," the Emperor said. "Kneel before me. Beg for mercy. Promise that humanity will serve the Empire without question. Do this, and I might let your species live as our slaves." Kim Tae-ho did not kneel. He did not beg. He looked up at the Emperor's 6 glowing eyes and spoke in the same calm voice as before. 72 hours, Your Imperial Majesty. That is the message." Emperor Vaxal's eyes flashed with anger. "Very well. You have chosen your fate." He turned to General Krethvar. "Prepare the Third Imperial Fleet. 200,000 ships should be enough to deal with this pest problem." "It will be my pleasure, Your Imperial Majesty," General Krethvar said with a nasty smile. The Emperor looked back at Kim Tae-ho. "You may go now, little human. Use your remaining time to say goodbye to your families. In 72 hours, your species will learn what happens when insects try to sting giants." Kim Tae-ho bowed politely. "Thank you for your time, Your Imperial Majesty." He turned and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the huge room. As he walked, the alien nobles called out insults and threats. Some threw objects at him. Others made rude gestures with their claws or tentacles. Kim Tae-ho ignored them all and kept walking. Just before he reached the door, Kim Tae-ho stopped and turned around one last time. The entire throne room was watching him. 72 hours, he said again. Then he walked out. The massive doors closed behind him with a sound like thunder. In the throne room, the aliens were already celebrating their coming victory. They talked about how they would divide up human worlds among themselves. They made jokes about keeping humans as pets. Emperor Vaxal sat back down on his throne. He was already thinking about other things. The human threat was so small that he had almost forgotten about it. But far away, on the small blue planet called Earth, other humans were not laughing. General Park Min-soo stood in a war room deep underground. Banks of computers surrounded him, showing information from across human space. "Did Tae-ho deliver the message?" asked Admiral Lee Da-eun. "Yes," General Park replied. "They laughed, just as we expected." "And their response?" 200,000 ships, the Third Imperial Fleet. Admiral Lee nodded. "Then it begins. Are our people ready?" Dr. Choi Soo-jin looked up from her computer screens. She was young for a scientist, but her eyes held secrets that could change the galaxy forever. "Project Silent Thunder is ready," she said quietly. "All quantum resonance devices are in position. All ships are equipped. All colonies have been prepared." General Park Min-soo looked at the star map on the wall. Blue dots showed human worlds scattered across space. They looked so small and lonely compared to the red dots of the Empire. "They think we are weak," he said. "They think we are primitive. They think we are just humans." He pressed a button on his desk. Across human space, every ship and every colony received the same message. 71 hours and counting. Prepare for quantum activation on my mark. The countdown had begun. Emperor Vaxel wasted no time. Within hours of Kim Tae-ho's departure, the Third Imperial Fleet began moving toward human space. 200,000 warships of every size and type formed the largest battle group the Empire had assembled in decades. General Krethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Annihilator. The massive ship was 5 kilometers long and bristled with enough weapons to destroy entire planets. Through the viewing window, he could see thousands of other ships stretching out in every direction. "This is almost insulting," General Krethvar said to his aide, Commander Velthak. 200,000 ships to crush a few dozen human worlds. It is like using a star destroyer to kill an insect. "Perhaps that is the point, General," Commander Velthak replied. "His Imperial Majesty wants to send a message to other species. This is what happens when you threaten the Empire." General Krethvar nodded. He turned to his communications officer. "Send a message to all Imperial news networks. Tell them to prepare for a live broadcast. The galaxy will watch as we demonstrate the cost of defying the Empire." Across Empire space, news reporters prepared for what they called pest control operations. The story was already being treated as a joke. How long would it take the mighty Imperial fleet to crush the humans? Some reporters bet it would be over in minutes. Meanwhile, on the human colony world of New Seoul, Governor Yoon Jae-hyuk was having a very different conversation. He stood in his office looking out at the city below. Millions of people went about their daily lives not knowing that a massive alien fleet was coming to destroy them. "Sir," his aide said, "the evacuation ships are ready. We can have all civilians off-world in 12 hours. "No," Governor Yoon replied. "No evacuation." "Sir, I don't understand." "The plan requires us to stay, all of us. Every human colony must remain at full population when the Empire arrives." The aide looked confused and worried. "But sir, they're bringing 200,000 ships. Our defenses won't last 5 minutes against that kind of firepower." Governor Yoon turned away from the window. He looked calm, but his eyes held the same strange secret that Dr. Choi Soo-jin's had back on Earth. "Trust the plan," he said quietly. "Trust in what we have become." Similar conversations were happening on every human world. Governors and military. Commanders received the same orders. No evacuation, no retreat, no surrender. Every human would be exactly where they needed to be when the Empire arrived. In space, Captain Kang So-young commanded the human destroyer Aegis. Her ship was part of a small fleet, positioned right at the edge of human territory. 12 ships. in total facing down 200,000 Empire vessels. Captain Kang was young for a ship commander, barely 30 years old. But like many humans, she had been chosen for this mission because of special qualities that the Empire could not detect or understand. "Captain," her tactical officer said, "Empire scouts have found us. They're transmitting our position to their main fleet." "Good," Captain Kang replied. "Make sure they get a clear look at us. I want them to see exactly how few ships we have." Her crew looked at her with expressions of trust and determination. They all knew the plan. They all understood what was about to happen. None of them showed any fear. The Empire Scouts ships were small, fast vessels designed for reconnaissance. Their crews laughed as they examined the human fleet through their sensors. 12 tiny ships with primitive weapons and weak shields. "This would not even qualify as target practice. Look at this," the scout captain said to his crew. "Their largest ship is smaller than our shuttles. Their weapons are centuries behind ours. This is what dared to threaten the Empire?" The scout transmitted detailed scans of the human ships back to General Krethvar. The general reviewed the data with growing amusement. "Pathetic," he said. "Their weapons could not scratch the paint on our smallest fighters. Their shields would collapse from a single hit by our lightest guns." He turned to his weapons officer. "When we arrive, destroy them slowly. I want the galaxy to see how helpless they are." Back on Earth, Dr. Choi Soo-jin worked in a laboratory hidden deep underground. The lab was filled with equipment that looked nothing like normal human technology. Strange machines hummed with energy that seemed to bend the light around them. Computer screens showed equations that would have confused the Empire's best scientists. "Final systems check," Dr. Choi announced. To her team, "Quantum resonance generators at full power," one scientist reported. "Entanglement matrices stable and ready," said another. "Phase variance controllers calibrated to 0.001% accuracy," added a third. Dr. Choi nodded. These were not normal scientific terms. This was not normal human technology. But then again, humans had not been normal for quite some time. "Admiral Lee," Dr. Choi said into her communicator, "we are ready for quantum activation on your command." Admiral Lee Dayun was aboard the human flagship Prometheus, positioned far behind the front lines. Her ship looked unremarkable from the outside, but inside it contained technology that the Empire could not even imagine. "Understood, Doctor," Admiral Lee replied. "All ships report ready. All colonies report ready. We are go for Silent Thunder." General Park Min-soo watched everything from Earth's command center. Dozens of screens showed him the positions of every human ship and every Empire vessel. The Imperial fleet was massive beyond description, but General Park looked calm and confident. "Incoming transmission from the Empire fleet," his communications officer announced. "Put it on screen." General Krethvar's face appeared on the main display. His red eyes glowed with cruel pleasure. "Humans," he said, "this is your final chance. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Continue to resist, and we will make your entire species suffer for generations." General Park stepped forward so the Empire general could see him clearly. "General Krethvar," he said, "this is General Park Min-soo of the United Earth Defense Force. We received your message. Here is our reply. You have been warned. What happens next is your choice. General Krethvar laughed. Your choice? You have 12 tiny ships facing 200,000 Imperial warships. What choice do you think you have? The choice to show mercy, General Park replied. Turn your fleet around now and no harm will come to you. Continue your attack and face the consequences. The Empire General's laughter grew louder. Consequences? What consequences could insects like you possibly threaten us with? You will find out in approximately 37 minutes, General Park said. That is when your fleet will reach our forward positions. The transmission ended. General Krethvar turned to his bridge crew with an expression of mock concern. Oh no, he said sarcastically. The humans are going to show us consequences. I am so frightened. His crew laughed with him, but Captain Kang So-young was not laughing. She stood on the bridge of the Aegis watching the Empire fleet approach. 200,000 ships moving in perfect formation, their weapons already powering up for the attack. All ships, she broadcast to her small fleet. Prepare for quantum phase transition. On my mark. Her tactical officer looked at the sensor. Readings. Captain, they'll be in weapons range in 60 seconds. I know, Captain Kang replied. She opened a final communication channel to the Empire flagship. General Krethvar, she said, this is Captain Kang So-young of the human ship Aegis. You are making a terrible mistake. Please reconsider. The only mistake, General Krethvar replied, was thinking you insects deserved a warning. All ships, open fire. Destroy the human fleet completely. 200,000 Empire ships fired at once. The combined energy of their weapons lit up space like a newborn star. Enough firepower to destroy planets struck the tiny human fleet. Captain Kang So-young smiled. Now, she said quietly, Dr. Choi Soo-jin pressed a single button in her underground laboratory. Across human space, every ship and every colony activated devices that the Empire had never seen before. Quantum resonance generators hummed to life. Reality itself began to bend and twist around human positions. The Empire weapons reached the spot where 12 human ships had been floating moments before. They hit nothing but empty space. General Krethvar stared at his sensor displays in confusion. Where did they go? Where are the human ships? Unknown, sir, his sensor officer replied. They just disappeared. Ships do not just disappear. Find them. But the human ships were not hiding. They were not cloaked. They had done something that the Empire thought was impossible. They had stepped outside of normal reality, and they were about to step back in. The human ships reappeared exactly where they had been before, but something was different. They looked the same, but they moved in ways that hurt the eyes to watch. Sometimes a ship seemed to be in two places at once. Sometimes they appeared solid, then became transparent like ghosts. General Krethvar's sensor officer was pressing buttons frantically, trying to understand what he was seeing. Sir, the readings make no sense. According to our instruments, those ships exist and don't exist at the same time. That is impossible, General Krethvar snarled. Nothing can exist in quantum superposition at that scale. Fire again! Destroy them! The Empire fleet fired a second massive volley. This time they could see what happened. The energy beams passed through the human ships like they were made of light. The ships flickered and became solid again just as the weapons finished firing. Captain Kang So-young stood on the bridge of the Aegis, watching calmly as Empire weapons passed harmlessly through her vessel. Her crew worked at their stations as if nothing unusual was happening. "Quantum phase shift successful," her science officer reported. "All systems operating in superposition mode." "Excellent," Captain Kang replied. "Begin Phase 2. Target their command ship." The Aegis began moving toward the Empire flagship, but instead of flying around the other ships in its path, it did something impossible. It flew straight through them. The human destroyer passed through the hull of an Empire battleship like it was made of air. Empire crew members watched in terror as the ghost-like vessel traveled through their ship from one side to the other without causing any damage. "What kind of technology is this?" General Krethvar demanded. His science advisors had no answers. On Earth, Dr. Choi Soo-jin was explaining the impossible to Admiral Lee Da-yoon. "For decades, we let the Empire think we were struggling with basic space travel," Dr. Choi said. "While they focused on bigger ships and more powerful weapons, we focused on understanding the fundamental nature of reality itself." Admiral Lee nodded. "And what did we discover?" "That everything in the universe is connected through quantum entanglement. Every particle, every atom, every molecule is linked to every other particle across infinite space. The Empire sees the universe as separate objects that can be moved and destroyed. We learn to see it as one connected system that can be manipulated." Dr. Choi gestured to her equipment. "These quantum resonance generators do not just move our ships. They allow our ships to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. We can be solid when we want to fire our weapons and intangible when enemies fire at us." Back in space, Lieutenant Commander Oh Sung-ho was demonstrating this principle in the most dramatic way possible. His ship, the cruiser Indomitable, had phased directly into the center of an Empire dreadnought. The Empire crew watched in horror as the human ship materialized inside their own vessel. Oh Sung-ho's crew fired their weapons from within the enemy ship's hull, destroying critical systems while remaining completely protected from return fire. Then the Indomitable phased out again, leaving the Empire dreadnought crippled and helpless. "This is not possible," General Krethvar said again, but his voice was no longer confident. It was becoming desperate. Emperor Vaxal was watching the battle from his throne room on the capital world. His science advisor, Chief Scientist Velthanor, tried to explain what they were seeing. "Your Imperial Majesty, the humans appear to have developed technology based on quantum mechanics principles that we do not understand. They can alter the quantum state of matter on a massive scale. In simple terms," Emperor Vaxel demanded, "they can make their ships exist and not exist at the same time. Our weapons cannot hit targets that are not entirely real." Emperor Vaxal's 6 eyes glowed with rage. "Then use weapons that can hit anything. Deploy the quantum disruptors." "Sir," Chief Scientist Velthanor said carefully, "we tested quantum disruptors 50 years ago. They proved too dangerous to use. They can damage the fabric of space itself. I do not care. Use them." General Krethvar received the order and felt a chill of fear. Quantum disruptors were weapons that could tear holes in reality. They had been banned by the Empire's own scientists because they were too dangerous to control. But he had no choice. The human ships were making his entire fleet look foolish. Somehow, 12 tiny vessels were dancing between 200,000 Empire warships like they were standing still. "Deploy quantum disruptors," he ordered reluctantly. The Empire's most dangerous weapons began charging. These were not normal energy weapons. They fired concentrated bursts of quantum instability that could disrupt the basic forces holding matter together. Captain Kang So-young saw the energy readings on her sensors. "They are preparing quantum disruptors," she reported to Admiral Lee. "Excellent," Admiral Lee replied. "That is exactly what we wanted them to do. All ships, prepare for quantum entanglement cascade." Dr. Choi Soo-jin smiled in her underground laboratory. The Empire was about to make the mistake that would seal their fate. They were going to use quantum weapons against an enemy that had mastered quantum physics. "Incoming quantum disruptor fire," Captain Kang's tactical officer announced. The Empire. Weapons fired. Beams of pure quantum energy struck the human ships. For a moment, it looked like the weapons had worked. The human vessels flickered and seemed to lose their strange, ghostly properties. General Krethvar allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. "Finally, continue firing, destroy them all!" But Captain Kang was not worried. "Phase 3, she announced calmly. Quantum entanglement reflection. Something amazing happened. The quantum energy from the Empire weapons did not destroy the human ships. Instead, it was absorbed by their quantum resonance generators and reflected back at the Empire fleet. But the reflected energy was different. It had been modified by human technology in ways the Empire could not understand. When it struck Empire ships, it did not just damage them. It began linking them to the human quantum network. Suddenly, Empire ships started behaving strangely. Some began firing at their own allies. Others turned and flew in random directions. A few simply stopped working entirely. "What is happening to our ships?" General Krethvar demanded. His science officer was staring at his instruments in confusion. "Sir, it appears that our vessels are being quantum entangled with the human ships. Their quantum states are becoming linked." "What does that mean?" "It means that when the human ships move, our ships move in response. When they fire their weapons, our weapons fire too, but not at the targets we choose." General Krethvar watched in horror as his own flagship began turning its massive guns toward other Empire vessels. He tried to override the controls, but nothing responded to his commands. "The humans are controlling our ships," he realized. On Earth, General Park Min-soo was watching the battle with calm satisfaction. "Dr. Choi, how many Empire vessels are now under our quantum influence?" "Approximately 30,000, and increasing rapidly," Dr. Choi replied. "The quantum entanglement is spreading through their fleet like a virus. Each ship we link becomes a node that can link to more ships." Admiral Lee Da-un was coordinating the quantum network from her flagship. "Captain Kang, begin demonstration. Phase. Show them what we can really do." Captain Kang smiled. "With pleasure, Admiral." The human ships suddenly changed their behavior completely. Instead of dodging and phasing through Empire vessels, they began moving in perfect formation. And wherever they moved, thousands of Empire ships moved with them in exact synchronization. It looked like the humans were conducting an orchestra, with Empire warships as their instruments. When Captain Kang turned her ship left, 30,000 Empire vessels turned left as well. When she fired her weapons, they fired theirs in the same direction. General Krethvar was no longer giving orders. He was no longer in control of his own fleet. His ships were dancing to a tune played by 12 human vessels that he had dismissed as primitive insects. "Break quantum entanglement," he ordered desperately. "Cut all power, shut down all systems." But it was too late. The quantum links were now built into the basic structure of his ships. They could not be broken by simply turning off power. Emperor Vaxal watched the disaster unfolding in space. His greatest fleet was being controlled by the enemy like puppets on strings. "How?" he asked Chief Scientist Velthanor. "How did a primitive species develop technology that we cannot understand or counter?" Chief Scientist Velthanor was reviewing data from the battle. His expression was one of growing amazement and fear. "Your Imperial Majesty," he said slowly, "I do not think they are primitive at all. I think they have been hiding their true capabilities from us for decades. This level of quantum manipulation should be impossible for any known technology." "Then, how are they doing it?" "I believe," Chief Scientist Velthanor said with growing horror, "that they have learned to control the fundamental forces that hold the universe together. They are not just using quantum physics, they have become quantum physics." Emperor Vaxal stared at the battle displays. His mighty fleet was being humiliated by 12 small ships. But worse than that, he was beginning to understand that this was not the humans showing their full power. This was them playing with their food. Emperor Vaxal's rage shook the crystal pillars of his throne room. His 6 eyes blazed like dying stars as he watched his third Imperial fleet being controlled by 12 human ships. The most powerful military force in the galaxy had become toys. In the hands of creatures he had dismissed as insects. "This is unacceptable," he roared. "Ready the planet killers. If these humans want to play with impossible science, we will destroy every star they inhabit." Chief Scientist Velthanor stepped forward nervously. "Your Imperial Majesty, perhaps we should try to understand their technology first. If we could learn how they manipulate quantum forces—" "No!" Emperor Vaxal slammed all 4 of his massive fists onto the arms of his throne. "I will not be humiliated by primitives. Deploy the stellar compression bombs. Turn every human world into cosmic dust." The Emperor's planet-killer dreadnoughts were the ultimate weapons of the Galactic Empire. Each ship was the size of a small moon and carried bombs that could compress entire stars into black holes. They had been used only 3 times in the Empire's history, always to make examples of species that dared to rebel. General Krethvar received the order while watching his own ships dance like puppets around the human vessels. His pride as a military commander was shattered, but he still had a job to do. "Recall all remaining fleet units," he commanded. "Deploy the first planet killer squadron to human space. Target their most populated worlds first." On Earth, General Park Min-soo had been expecting this response. He stood in his underground command center, watching as massive Empire weapons began moving toward human colonies. "They are bringing the planet killers," his intelligence officer reported. 5 ships, each carrying stellar compression bombs. "Good," General Park replied calmly. "Dr. Choi, are we ready for Phase 4? Dr. Choi Soo-jin looked up from her quantum computers. Her young face showed no fear, only quiet confidence. "All human worlds have been prepared for quantum phase shifting. We can begin planetary superposition at any time." Admiral Lee Da-un joined the conversation from her flagship. "Our quantum network is now stable across all human space. Every colony, every ship, every orbital station is connected through quantum entanglement." General Park nodded. "Then let us show the Empire what complete mastery of quantum physics really means." The first target was New Busan, a human colony world with over 50 million people. Governor Bae Jun-ho had refused all offers of evacuation, insisting that his people would stand and fight. Now he stood in his office, watching as a planet-killer dreadnought entered orbit above his world. The Empire ship was massive beyond description. Its hull was black as space itself, and its weapons could crack worlds like eggs. Energy readings showed that its stellar compression bomb was charging for deployment. "Sir," Governor Bay's aide said nervously, "shouldn't we take shelter? Maybe go to the underground bunkers?" "No need," Governor Bay replied. He was watching something on his personal communicator. "Professor Nam, are you ready?" Professor Nam Hye-jin was the colony's leading quantum physicist. She worked in a laboratory built deep inside New Busan's largest mountain. Her equipment was identical to Dr. Choi's machines on Earth. Quantum resonance generators that could alter the basic nature of reality. "All systems ready, Governor," Professor Nam reported. "Planetary quantum matrix is stable and prepared for phase transition." Above them, the Empire planet killer finished charging its weapons. The ship's commander, Admiral Zex Thul, looked down at the human world with cold satisfaction. "Pathetic creatures," he said to his crew. "They do not even try to flee. Fire the stellar compression bomb. Show the galaxy what happens to species that threaten the Empire." The weapon fired. A sphere of pure destructive energy fell toward New Busan like a miniature star. When it struck the planet's surface, it would compress all matter into a space smaller than a grain of sand, creating a black hole that would consume the entire world. Governor Bay watched the weapon approach on his sensors. He felt no fear. "Now, Professor Nam," he said quietly. Professor Nam pressed a single button. New Busan vanished. The stellar compression bomb struck empty space where a planet had been moments before. It exploded harmlessly in the vacuum, creating a brief flash of light that quickly faded. Admiral Zex Thul stared at his sensor displays in disbelief. "Where is the planet? Planets do not just disappear." His science officer was checking and rechecking his instruments. "Sir, according to our readings, the planet never existed. There is no record of it ever being there." "That is impossible. We were orbiting it. We just fired at it." But New Busan was not destroyed. It had been shifted into quantum superposition, existing in a state between reality and possibility. The entire world, with all 50 million of its people, now existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. From Professor Nam's laboratory, the planet could observe normal space without being observed in return. They could see the Empire ship floating above empty space, searching desperately for a world that was hiding in the spaces between atoms. Phase transition successful, Professor Nam reported to Governor Bay. We are now existing in quantum superposition. The Empire cannot detect us or harm us. Excellent, Governor Bay replied. Now for the next part. New Busan began to move, not through normal space, but through quantum dimensions that the Empire could not perceive or understand. The entire planet, with its cities and people and atmosphere, traveled instantly across vast distances. It reappeared directly inside the hull of the Empire planet killer. Admiral Zexathul and his crew found themselves suddenly surrounded by buildings and trees and breathable atmosphere. A human world had somehow materialized around their ship, with their vessel now floating in the middle of New Busan's capital city. This is not possible, Admiral Zexathul whispered. But it was not just possible. It was carefully planned. The quantum phase transition had integrated New Busan's matter with the Empire ship's hull in a way that caused both objects to occupy the same space without destroying each other, until Professor Nam decided to make them solid again. She pressed another button. New Busan returned to normal quantum state, its matter becoming fully real and solid once more. The Empire planet killer tried to occupy the same space as a human city. Physics does not allow two solid objects to exist in the same location. The massive Empire ship simply came apart. Its hull separated into component atoms as New Busan's buildings and streets forced their way into the space it had been occupying. In seconds, the most powerful weapon in the Empire's arsenal was reduced to scattered debris floating in New Busan's atmosphere. Admiral Zexathul and his crew found themselves standing in a human park, surrounded by trees and flowers. Their ship was gone. Their weapons were gone. They were prisoners on a world that had just done something impossible. Emperor Vaxal watched this happen to all 5 of his planet killers. Each one was destroyed in the same way. Human worlds would vanish just before the weapons struck, then reappear inside the Empire ships, destroying them through matter integration. How many planet killers do we have left? He asked Chief Scientist Velthanor. None, Your Imperial Majesty. All 5 have been destroyed. Then build more. Build 100. Build 1,000. Sir, Chief Scientist Velthanor said carefully, it would take years to build new planet killers, and based on what we have seen, the humans would simply destroy them the same way. Emperor Vaxal rose from his throne, his massive form trembling with rage. Then what do you suggest? That we surrender to these insects? That we admit defeat to a species we could have conquered with a single battleship just days ago? Chief Scientist. Velthanor looked at the battle reports on his tablet. Empire ships controlled by human quantum entanglement. Empire weapons turned against Empire targets. Entire worlds that could disappear and reappear at will. Your Imperial Majesty, he said, slowly. I do not think we are dealing with the same species that we encountered before. These humans have developed technology that is decades ahead of our own. They have mastered forces that we barely understand. They are still just humans, are they? Chief Scientist Velthanor asked. Can normal humans make planets disappear? Can normal humans control matter at the quantum level? Can normal humans turn our own weapons against us? Emperor Vaxal stared at his science advisor. For the first time in his long reign, he was beginning to feel something he had never experienced before. Fear. On Earth, General Park Min-soo was preparing for the final phase of humanity's demonstration. The Empire had now seen human ships that could phase in and out of reality. They had seen human worlds that could vanish and reappear at will. They had seen their own weapons turned against them through quantum entanglement, but they had not yet seen what humans could do when they stopped playing games and decided to get serious. Dr. Choi, General Park said, activate the quantum cascade network. It is time to show the Empire the true scope of our capabilities. Dr. Choi's fingers moved across her controls. Across human space, every quantum resonance generator activated simultaneously. Every human ship, every human world, every human orbital station became a node in a galaxy-spanning network of quantum entanglement. The Empire was about to learn what complete destruction really meant. Emperor Vaxal made the decision that would doom his empire. In his rage and humiliation, he chose to escalate beyond all reason. If technology could not defeat the humans, then overwhelming numbers would. Mobilize everything, he commanded. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier in the entire Galactic Empire. I want 50,000 star systems contributing to our war effort. Build the largest fleet in galactic history. Chief Scientist Velthanor tried one last time to reason with his Emperor. Your Imperial Majesty, perhaps we should attempt negotiations. The humans have demonstrated capabilities that— No negotiations! Emperor Vaxal roared. No surrender! No mercy! If these creatures want to use impossible science against us, we will crush them with numbers they cannot possibly overcome. The mobilization began immediately. From 50,000 star systems, ships and weapons poured toward the imperial capital. Every species in the Empire was forced to contribute their best technology and their most powerful vessels. The fleet that assembled was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Over 10 million warships of every size and type, from tiny fighters to massive dreadnoughts the size of cities, planet killers, star destroyers, reality bombs, black hole generators, every weapon of mass destruction the Empire had ever created. Supreme Admiral Zenthrak was given command of this ultimate armada. He was the Empire's greatest military mind, a being who had conquered more worlds than any other general in Imperial history. His species was silicon-based, making him look like a walking mountain of black crystal. This is it, Supreme Admiral Zenthrak announced to his commanders. We will not play games with the humans as the Third Fleet did. We will not give them time to use their strange technology. We will arrive at their home system and destroy everything in one coordinated strike. The massive fleet began moving toward Earth. 10 million ships traveling in formation created gravitational disturbances that could be detected from several star systems away. There was no hiding a force this large. On Earth, General Park Min-soo watched the approaching armada on his strategic displays. The number of red dots representing Empire ships was almost impossible to count. They covered the screen like a solid field of color. 10,400,000 ships, his intelligence officer reported. They are bringing everything, sir. This is the entire military might of the Galactic Empire. Good, General Park replied calmly. Dr. Choi, are we ready for total? Quantum war? Dr. Choi Soo-jin nodded from her position at the Quantum Control Center. All human colonies are connected to the quantum network. All ships are equipped with quantum resonance devices. All civilian populations have been prepared for quantum phase transitions. Admiral Lee Da-eun joined the conversation from her flagship. The Prometheus was now floating in Earth's orbit, looking tiny and helpless compared to the approaching Imperial Armada. General Park, she said, I have a question. Why are we allowing them to bring their entire fleet to Earth? Would it not be safer to engage them in deep space? General Park smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Admiral, the Empire has made this personal. They are not just attacking our colonies now. They are coming to destroy our home world. That changes everything, sir? When someone threatens your home, General Park said quietly, you stop playing games. The Empire fleet arrived in Earth's solar system like a plague of metal locusts. 10 million ships spread out in a formation that stretched from Mercury to Mars. The combined mass of the Armada was so great that it began affecting the orbits of the inner planets. Supreme Admiral Zenthrak looked at the small blue world hanging in space before him. It looked so insignificant compared to the massive fleet surrounding it. A few orbital stations, some defensive satellites, maybe a dozen human ships protecting their home world. This is it? He asked his tactical officer. This is the planet that has been humiliating the Empire? It looks like any other primitive world. Yes, sir. Our scans show approximately 8 billion humans on the surface, plus maybe 1 million more on orbital facilities. No significant military installations. Their defensive fleet numbers less than 50 ships. Supreme Admiral Zenthrak nodded. Begin total bombardment. I want every weapon fired simultaneously. Destroy the planet, the orbital stations, every human ship, everything. Leave nothing but dust. The order went out to 10 million ships. Energy weapons, kinetic bombardment systems, quantum disruptors, reality scramblers, every type of destructive technology the Empire possessed began charging for a coordinated strike. General Park Min-soo watched the enemy weapons powering up. He stood in his command center deep beneath Earth's surface, surrounded by quantum computers that hummed with impossible energies. They are really going to do it, Admiral Lee observed. They are going to try to destroy Earth itself. Yes, General, Park replied, and that was their final mistake. He turned to Dr. Choi Soo-jin. Doctor, activate Project Silent Thunder at maximum power. Show the Empire what happens when they threaten humanity's home. Dr. Choi placed her hand on a control panel that looked like it was made of crystallized light. Quantum Cascade Network at full power. All human worlds and ships are now connected through quantum entanglement. We are ready for total phase transition. She looked up at General Park. Sir? Once we do this, there will be no going back. The Empire will never see us the same way again. Good, General Park said. I am tired of being underestimated. Dr. Choi activated the quantum cascade. What happened next would be remembered as the moment humanity revealed its true nature to the galaxy. Every human world, every human ship, every human orbital station vanished simultaneously. Not just from sight, they vanished from reality itself, existing in quantum superposition across infinite dimensions. 10 million Empire weapons fired at once. The combined energy output was enough to destroy entire star systems. It struck the space where Earth and its orbital facilities had been moments before. The weapons hit nothing. Supreme Admiral Zentharak stared at his displays in confusion. Where did they go? Where is the planet? Unknown, sir, his sensor officer replied. According to our instruments, the planet Earth never existed. Our historical records show empty space in this solar system. That is impossible. We have been observing that world for hours. But Earth had not been destroyed. It had been removed from normal space-time and placed in quantum superposition. The entire planet, with all its people and cities and oceans, now existed in a state between dimensions. From this quantum state, humanity could observe the Empire fleet without being detected. They could see the confusion and growing panic among the alien commanders. They could watch as 10 million ships searched desperately for an enemy that was hiding in the spaces between atoms. Phase 1 complete, Dr. Choi reported. Earth and all human colonies are now in quantum superposition. The Empire cannot detect or harm us. Excellent, General Park replied. Begin Phase 2. Show them what quantum warfare really means. Earth began to move, not through normal space, but through quantum dimensions that existed parallel to reality. The entire planet traveled instantly across vast distances, appearing and disappearing throughout the solar system. One moment, Earth materialized inside the hull of an Empire dreadnought, destroying the massive ship through matter integration. The next moment, it appeared behind a group of Empire cruisers, allowing human orbital defense platforms to fire at point-blank range before vanishing again. Supreme Admiral Zentharak watched in horror as his ships were destroyed by an enemy that could appear anywhere and disappear before return fire could be targeted. Earth was not just moving through space, it was moving through reality itself. All ships, spread out, he ordered desperately. Form a defensive sphere. They cannot attack all of us at once. But the Empire had made a fundamental error. They assumed they were fighting normal space combat against a superior technology. They did not understand that they were fighting an enemy that had transcended the normal laws of physics. Major Song Tai-kyung led the first ground assault. His soldiers did not use transport ships or landing craft. They simply quantum-tunneled directly from Earth onto Empire vessels, appearing inside enemy ships without warning. Empire crews found themselves fighting human soldiers who could walk, through walls, disappear when shot at, and fire weapons that ignored armor and shields. The humans were not just using advanced technology, they had become living weapons of quantum warfare. "This is not possible," Supreme Admiral Zenthrak said for the 100th time, but he was beginning to understand that possibility had no meaning. When fighting an enemy that controlled the fundamental forces of reality, Admiral Lee Da-un demonstrated the ultimate expression of human quantum mastery. Her flagship, the Prometheus, began quantum entangling with Empire command ships. But instead of controlling their movements, she did something far more devastating. She made Empire ships think they were attacking each other. Through quantum entanglement, human vessels began appearing on Empire sensors as Imperial ships. Friend or foe, identification systems became useless as quantum superposition made it impossible to tell human ships from Empire vessels. 10 million Empire ships began firing on each other, thinking they were engaging human forces. The retreat of the Empire's ultimate fleet was not a battle withdrawal. It was a rout. Of the 10 million ships that had arrived to destroy Earth, less than half escaped the quantum warfare that humanity unleashed. Those that did flee carried with them stories that would spread terror throughout the galaxy. Supreme Admiral Zenthrak sat in his damaged flagship, staring at casualty reports that seemed impossible. 5 million ships destroyed, not by superior firepower, but by an enemy that could make planets disappear and reappear at will. An enemy that could turn the Empire's own weapons against itself. "Send a message to the Imperial capital," he ordered, weakly. "Tell Emperor Vaxall that the human home system is defended." But the war was far from over. Emperor Vaxall's rage had grown beyond all reason. In his throne room on the capital world, he paced back and forth like a caged predator, his 6 eyes blazing with hatred. "They humiliated our greatest fleet," he snarled to Chief Scientist Velthanor. "They made fools of our most advanced technology. This cannot stand." "Your Imperial Majesty," Chief Scientist Velthanor said carefully, "perhaps it is time to consider that we have made an error. The humans are clearly more advanced than we believed. Maybe we should—" "No!" Emperor Vaxall slammed his massive fists down so hard that cracks appeared in the crystal floor. "I will not bow to insects. I will not let primitives make a mockery of the Galactic Empire." The Emperor made his final, fatal decision. "If we cannot defeat them with fleets, we will erase them from existence itself. Activate the reality bombs. Target every star system the humans have ever touched. We will not just destroy them. We will make it so they never existed." Reality bombs were the Empire's most dangerous weapons, banned by their own scientists as too unstable to use. They did not just destroy matter and energy, they erased objects from the timeline itself, making it as if they had never been created. Chief Scientist Velthanor turned pale. "Your Imperial Majesty, reality bombs are extremely dangerous. If something goes wrong, they could erase parts of the Empire as well. I do not care. Deploy them immediately." The order went out to the Empire's most secret weapons facilities. Ancient devices that had been locked away for centuries were brought out and prepared for use. Reality bombs that could delete entire star systems from history itself. On Earth, Dr. Choi Soo-jin detected the quantum signatures of the reality bombs being activated. She looked up from her instruments with an expression of sadness rather than fear. "General Park," she said quietly. "They are preparing to use reality deletion weapons against us." General Park Min-soo nodded grimly. "I was hoping it would not. Come to this. How long until the reality bombs are ready?" 6 hours, sir. Then we have 6 hours to end this war completely." General Park turned to his communication officer. "Send a message to every human colony, every human ship, every human citizen. Tell them that Operation Final Thunder is now authorized." "Doctor." Choi looked surprised. "Sir, are you sure? Once we activate Final Thunder, there will be no way to hide what we have become. The entire galaxy will know the truth about humanity." "The Empire is about to try to erase us from history," General Park replied. "I think it is time the galaxy learned who they are really dealing with." Operation Final Thunder was humanity's ultimate demonstration of quantum mastery. Dr. Choi had spent decades preparing for this moment, developing technology that even she was not sure they should use. "All human worlds, all human ships, prepare for quantum cascade expansion," she announced across the quantum network. "We are going to show the Empire what complete control of reality really means." The plan was simple in concept, but staggering in scope. Instead of just quantum entangling with Empire ships or making human worlds disappear, humanity was going to quantum entangle with entire star systems belonging to the Empire. They were going to take control of the Empire's own worlds. Captain Kang So-young, now commanding a quantum-enhanced battle group, led the first phase of the operation. Her ships did not travel to Empire space through normal, faster-than-light travel. They quantum-tunneled directly to the Empire's most important worlds, appearing in orbit without warning. On the Empire capital world, Emperor Vaxal was watching. His reality bombs charged when alarms began screaming throughout his palace. His guards rushed in with reports that made no sense. "Your Imperial Majesty, there are human ships in orbit. They appeared from nowhere." Emperor Vaxal looked at his defensive displays. 12 small human vessels floated above his capital city. The same type of ships that had humiliated his fleets. "Destroy them," he ordered. But when the capital world's defensive weapons fired, something impossible happened. The energy beams struck the human ships and were absorbed completely. Then the weapons began firing again, but this time at the Empire's own cities. Captain Kang had quantum entangled her ships with the Empire's planetary defense grid. Every weapon on the capital world was now under human control. "Attention, Emperor Vaxal," Captain Kang broadcast on all Empire communication channels. "This is Captain Kang So-young of the human ship Aegis. You have exactly 1 hour to cancel your reality bomb attack and surrender unconditionally." Emperor Vaxal's 6 eyes blazed with fury. "Never! I will not surrender to insects." "Then you leave us no choice," Captain Kang replied sadly. Across the Empire, similar scenes were playing out on 50,000 worlds. Human ships appeared in orbit around every major Empire planet, not through invasion fleets, but through quantum transportation that ignored distance and defensive barriers. But the humans were not there to destroy cities or kill civilians. They were there to demonstrate something far more terrifying than military conquest. Dr. Choi activated the final phase of Operation Final Thunder. Every human ship, every human world, every human installation became a node in a quantum network that spanned the entire galaxy. And through that network, they began quantum entangling with Empire star systems themselves. On the Empire capital world, people looked up to see their sun flickering. Sometimes it was their normal red giant star. Sometimes it was Earth's yellow sun. Sometimes it was the blue-white star from the human colony of New Sol. "What is happening to our star?" Emperor Vaxal demanded. Chief Scientist Velthanor was studying readings that defied all known science. "Your Imperial Majesty, it appears that our entire solar system is being quantum entangled with human star systems. Our sun, our planets, our moons. They are all being linked to human space through quantum superposition." What does that mean? It means that the humans now control the basic physical properties of our worlds. They can make our planets disappear the same way they made their own worlds vanish. They can relocate our star systems anywhere in the galaxy. They can... His voice trailed off as the full implications hit him. They can what? They can erase us from existence simply by choosing not to allow us to exist anymore. Emperor Vaxal stared at his science advisor. The most powerful being in the galaxy was beginning to understand that he was no longer in control of his own empire. Professor Nam Hye-jin, working from her laboratory on New Busan, began the demonstration that would end the war. She quantum entangled the Empire capital world with empty space, then began making it phase in and out of existence. Emperor Vaxal felt his planet disappear around him. One moment he was standing in his throne room. The next moment he was floating in the vacuum of space, somehow still able to breathe because the atmosphere was quantum entangled with his location. Then the planet reappeared, but in a different location. Instead of orbiting the Empire's capital star, it was now orbiting Earth's sun. "Impossible," Emperor Vaxal whispered. But it was not just possible. It was completely under human control. The Empire's capital world had become a quantum puppet, dancing to humanity's will. The same thing was happening throughout Empire space. Human quantum masters were relocating entire star systems, making planets disappear and reappear in different locations, turning the Empire's own worlds into demonstrations of human power. The reality bombs that Emperor Vaxal had ordered were still charging, but now they were no longer targeting human space. The weapons facilities had been quantum entangled with human control systems. When the bombs finished charging, they would target whatever the humans chose. Dr. Choi made her choice. Instead of turning the reality bombs against Empire worlds, she did something that showed the true mercy of humanity. She used them to erase the bombs themselves from existence, making it as if they had never been built. In 6 hours, the Galactic Empire went from being the dominant force in the galaxy to being completely at the mercy of a species they had dismissed as primitive insects. Kim Tae-ho returned to Emperor Vaxal's throne room one final time. But now the throne room was floating in Earth's orbit, quantum entangled with humanity's home system. The Emperor sat on his crystal throne, but he was no longer a ruler. He was a prisoner of forces he could not understand or control. "Your Imperial Majesty," Kim Tae-ho said politely, "I have returned with humanity's final message." Emperor Vaxal's 6 eyes were dim with defeat. "Speak." 72 hours ago, we warned you that continued aggression would result in complete destruction. We demonstrated our capability to defend ourselves. We showed mercy by not erasing your empire entirely when we could have done so.